Greetings, everyone. Welcome to this week's Real Talk with ZSJ. I'm your host. This is Zakia. I'm here with Brother Suraj, right? Said it right? Well, welcome. How are you?
Peace, and love.
How are you doing?
I'm good, I just want to know if the volume, if you can hear
Yeah,
me, you can hear
yeah,
me.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
I can hear you. I can hear you just fine. Yeah, I see your mic there. Yeah, I can hear you really good.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
actually not plug this one in, so I just had to take it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So I know it's late where you are. So we definitely don't want to keep you too long, but I'm excited to have this conversation with you tonight. Can you just introduce yourself to the audience, tell the people who you are and what your work is all about?
Yeah. My name is Suraj O T Odekunle, and I have been uh, currently in the Pan African community for almost 10 years now. So it's been almost a decade. I've been in the community. My background is working with children with ADHD, children with severe autism, uh, uh, black boys who have been excluded from the public school system, and basically working as part of an interventions team to just support them, whilst they're just supporting their development outside the public school system. So that's my background. Also, my involvement in the community started from my a documentary I produced called The Man in the Mirror, which launched September the 13th, 2014. And sorry, pardon me, since then, I've basically been working on other things in regards to like doing public speaking engagements with a presentation which I do called the Unspoken Truth Behind a Black Man's Abuse, which I do within the community. And right now we're just working on a new platform called My Brother's Keeper International, which is launching January the 16th.
Oh man, that's amazing. So, welcome everybody. I see people are still coming in. Hit the thumbs up button as you come in and share the broadcast as well. We would love to have you all be a part of this conversation. So, if you have questions, you can drop that in the chat. Um, you something stood out to me about what you were saying, similar to the work that I do. When you said you were working in schools and working as a part of, I believe, a prevention team around Black boys being excluded from school. That's absolutely that's just amazing to me because you're in the UK, we're in the United States, and the same exact thing happens here with young Black boys. I actually started my own nonprofit doing that same type of work and explicitly calling out racism and anti-blackness in terms of the U.S. Public education system. So yeah, that kind of stood out to me. So that it further lets me know that that pan-Europeanism that focuses on Black men and Black boys is certainly a global phenomenon. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and what you said
Mm.
confirms it. Yeah. I want to get right into the conversation because I really, when I looked you up and kind of looked at some of the things that you have been doing. I know you have been here to the states a few times, have been to different states. Working with other Pan Africanists. How did you? I know this wasn't really a part of the questions, but I'm interested in this. How did
Yeah, that's
you? How did you? What was your awakening moment and how did you come to pan-africanism?
fine. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, I would say the awakening moment happened for me at the age of 17.
Hmm.
Um, During the time they the I think the movie The Matrix came out.
Yeah.
Um, However,
Now I think the
uh,
Matrix came out like in the 90s, the first one at least.
yeah, 99.
Yeah.
So I've given away my age now.
Right, right.
So the first one came out when I was 17, 18, and that's when I was more or less, I had my third eye open.
Right.
So I was quite, knowledgeable in certain things. I did a lot of research when it came to like world views, politics, and all of that. And but in regards to the me um, steering or navigating towards the path of Pan Africanism, that came a lot later on. So that kind of it happened between 2010 to 12, um, where there was a sister which I knew, who used to come and check me and like bring these DVDs on you know
Was
just
one of them Hidden
black
Colors?
history.
I know a lot of people those made as rounds.
Oh no, I think this was before that.
Oh,
So
okay.
this was
They
I think it
definitely
was
made
before the
their
first one.
rounds.
So this was more I think like she brought like movies like The Color Purple, and
Mm-hmm.
um unfortunately it was more to do with like the slave trade, or she brought certain movies uh like Sankofa and all of those movies, and it kind of sparked something because I had to take some time out to kind of reflect on this, because it it was kind of like me having a void and not kind of being aware why our people was was mistreated. With all of this knowledge and research out there, where there's obviously elders who've been in the community a lot longer, who've done the work, and just people who were active like way before me, and it just kind of sparked something, and I wanted to kind of dig deeper. I wanted to dive deeper into it, and when I did, it just got to a point where I was like pissed off. I was pissed off, and I felt I wanted to contribute, at least play my part, to counteract it, because I was seeing a lot of things, because it all made sense why when I grew up there were like brothers in my neighborhood who were killing each other. And when you kind of look at the different events which have played out in history, where our brothers and sisters were um, basically went through that psychological warfare conditioning to be placed against each other, it made me it just made me realize, okay, this is the game they're playing. And it really made me quite advanced quite quickly, even before reading certain books. It made me quite, because I'm a person which is known to be very analytical when it comes to the work I do, and just kind of the human mind, and even not even just the credentials and qualifications I have, but basically just watching body language, expressions, even from pictures. I can basically give an analysis of, this is who I'm dealing with. So as I said, it made me become active. And I think also during the time when I had that awakening, I was basically unemployed, and I was unemployed for like a few years, and I think I got back into work around the year of 2012. So I started doing voluntary works with in a school with black boys who were on the verge of being excluded, and
Let
it
me ask
was
you: do they use medicine? Do they try to medicate the boys there too?
um in certain circumstances, not, I didn't experience it in that particular school.
Okay.
However, I'm aware of it, and I'm aware of it happened
Yeah.
being in other settings
Yeah.
once I moved on from
Mm-hmm.
working in that environment. But
Right.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't. It was crazy because I didn't even feel that I was actually gonna get into working with in that um field. Even although I was kind of a voice in my neighborhood, and looking out for a lot of younger people, even in past relationships with obviously sisters, single mothers, and so forth, who had children, and the interaction with me and the children and stuff. So it kind of, I guess, played a part in going into that direction. I just
Hmm.
felt that I can do more, because a lot of the jobs I was working in prior to all of that was completely the different end of the spectrum.
Right.
And I just felt that I can give more service to support the youth around that time. So I went on. So I started with the black boys who were being excluded from the school system.
Hmm.
Then I got into working one to one as a learning support assistant with young black boys who had ADHD and or Asperger's. And I think after that, I worked as a teaching assistant, because I'm trying to recite. I'm going through my mental Rolodex to remember. And last but not least, I got into working with children with severe autism and Down syndrome, which I
Yeah.
never thought I would actually get into, because that was
Right.
something which I was a bit kind of skeptical, because I thought, I couldn't picture imagine it, because I was thinking, what how can I give service,
Hmm.
and which was rewarding in more than one way. Like in many ways, it was rewarding, and I'm glad for the experience.
Absolutely. Well, let's kind of get into that a bit. I mean, maybe you talked about this a little bit, but I think it would be helpful if you would go into it a little bit more, because you mentioned the MBK, or My Brother's Keeper International, and that reminded me of the U.S. based Obama's My Brother's Keeper initiative that was, pretty much about respectability politics and how to conform and be more like a white man. Um, so we hope that that's not what you're doing with your program. But tell us what
Never.
impelled you to start the My Brother's Keeper International.
Um. Well, you know what? I So basically, what happened was, I think it was from maybe 2016, let's say 2017, late 2016 going into 2017.
Hmm.
I connected with uh, an indigenous sister from Australia,
Mm,
and we were speaking about it. And at the time, I was, because of my backstory from my documentary, of me growing up within as a Nigerian in the UK and going through all different types of obstacles, overcoming adversity. It was just something I felt, coming from a young black man's perspective. Why don't I do more than just a documentary? Because I wanted to kind of connect with brothers what shared similar experiences, because
hmm.
and it wasn't to take away from the sisters, because I've connected with numerous different sisters as well, and I've supported them and helped them in going through their own journeys of
Right.
overcoming their traumatic experiences. But the
Sure.
reasons why I wanted to kind of touch, I felt that it was important, or let's say imperative, to um, make that connection with the brothers, is because the, I've seen so many situations which have saddened me over the years, just growing up in
Right.
my neighborhood, when I used to live in South London, and seeing brothers go through all sorts of trauma,
Right.
from whether it's single parent homes, not having a father around, uh, parents on drugs.
That's all that happens to Black people there too
Yeah,
in
yeah,
in
yeah.
uh,
It's just
London.
yeah, yeah. Going
Damn,
through the street,
it's the same. It's the
the
same as
street, the
here.
street life. The
Yeah.
street culture. I don't
Mm.
really want to call it gang because I'm not trying to put that.
Sure.
Yeah,
That negative
but
connotation. No, I get it.
exactly
Yeah.
connotation of um also being systematically abused through the public schooling system.
Mm-hmm.
Me being one of those brothers, and also brothers getting to the point where they go crazy and they start walking around, forgetting who you are, talking to themselves. I've grown up with and went to school with a few of these brothers, and I was seeing it all the time, and I
Right.
felt, and I think a lot of the times when I used to hear the sisters' cries,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was stuff I did or anyone else did, I just felt,
Right.
what can we do um, to improve on working on ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and it's crazy because when it comes to the blame game, which is quite common on the social media platforms in today's society, it takes away from actually focusing on the necessary work which is needed uh, to you know just practice self-care, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the mind, body and soul.
Yes.
And we tend to steer away from getting that support
Right.
from those who are either professionals or just qualified in
Mm-hmm.
their areas to provide the necessary framework in order to help and assist and support these brothers
Mm-hmm.
to just basically return back to Sankofa, just basically just practice decolonizing the mind, body, and soul, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And I think it's something which a lot of our brothers and sisters are still trying to identify
Mm-hmm.
with how best to do that in
Right.
order for it to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
Even with stuff like basic counseling. I know there's certain brothers and sisters who in 2021 who've now taken that on board, but there's still uh, plenty of us
Mm-hmm.
um, who haven't yet, taken on board that healing is
Mm-hmm.
necessary. Because there's a lot of brothers and sisters what feel they don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of brothers and sisters what feel they don't need it
It's
because
true.
the whole perception of people who need it are those who that individual perceives as someone who's mentally deranged or
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know uh, someone who is recovering as a from alcohol abuse,
Sure.
drug addicts, or just people who we perceive are not right in the head.
Yeah.
So even if we're those people who explode and act impulsive and have certain attitude problems, a lot of that comes from our childhood experiences. But a lot of
So
people
true.
don't want to identify that because a lot of folks don't like to be seen as vulnerable,
Right.
because it's like
Especially
once
men.
yeah, because it's more or less it's like someone stealing. It's like someone being robbed and someone taking your footwear off and just leaving you with no shoes. So people don't like to be stripped
Right.
and left naked
Right.
um, when it comes to vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's good. One of the other things that I've heard from some brothers is that about like, their reluctance to be vulnerable is that they don't want whoever that they're being vulnerable with to turn around and weaponize the
Yeah,
information
absolutely.
that they share. And that's
Mm,
really important. Like there has to be some trust there. And even, for me as a woman, like I've been to counseling, but it takes a while to even find a counselor that is a good fit. You literally have to go shopping for one. Just because they have a degree and have the right credentials doesn't mean that they're the right counselor for you. For me, going to a Black counselor who is rooted in sort of like African centered, decolonized therapeutic strategies, that is what works best for me. And as you know, like those type of counselors are like hard to find, few and far between. So yeah, I really appreciate the fact that you're centering Black men's healing in your work. Is really important, especially with what you've said about the conditions of our people in South London, and what you describe could be
Yeah, and all over.
Chicago. Yeah, it could be Chicago. It could be Cleveland, Ohio. Like, if you
Mm,
go to East Cleveland, you will see these same conditions
yeah,
of Black folks.
yeah.
So what has been the most surprising thing you've discovered since you began this initiative?
Well, what's interesting is I'm at I had to go through a whole rebranding process because it took a while to because it's grassroots as well. It took a while to, so
Right.
me and my colleague at the time, my ex-colleague, we was trying to we reached out to one or two people, or one or two
Mhm.
people, let's say, reached out to us, and said they was down for the cause, and we was honest, at those stages. So I'm going back 2017, 18, stroke 18,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we said, look, we ain't got no funds at the moment, but we're getting to that place where we just need to put all the parts of the jigsaw together in order
Mhm.
for it to, create Voltron.
Mhm.
That's what we was working on,
Right.
and I think at that stage, I think that the difficulty was having certain people who are on the same page,
Right.
where they can put aside their egos,
Right.
because the issue was, um, there was too much ego and lack of transparency, and I
Mhm.
think when it comes to setting up something grassroots, a lot of folks don't really realize it takes a lot of time, and it could take time away from other stuff people have got in their personal lives, as
Mhm.
well as a lot of effort. Even though it was at that time, from 2017, 18, it was me and my colleague was actually, which was funding this,
Mhm.
but it was basically finding the right people with the right skill set, and those people who were actually passionate, as well as knowing a bit for, I guess, being more disciplined in how to vet them as well,
Mhm.
um, because a lot of the times, as a people, when a lot of the times we a lot of us have been used to working on a modern day plantation for so long. When it comes to getting into this entrepreneurial um, lifestyle, we
Mhm.
take so much things for granted.
Right.
When it comes to documentations, just structure, which, and I know there's obviously conflicts with people in our community, because
Right.
some people feel, okay, should I use the organizational structure or should I not? People are talking about, people might mention, using organizational structure as Urugu, or or this, that, and the other. But there has to be a roadmap in
Mhm.
order to function a certain type of projects. Now, if you're independent business owner who sells products, like
Mhm.
maybe I don't know, shea butter, coconut oil, and all of that good stuff,
Mhm. Right.
then you don't really need that. But when you're kind of creating a platform which has different elements, it
Mhm.
it needs um, people who are experienced in certain areas to come together. So it's basically finding the right
Mhm.
structure which works for you. So I think
Right.
that, going back to that question you asked,
Mhm.
I think that was one of the main issues we encountered. Now, we did actually, in 2017, at some point, we did do a test run, because we implemented certain forums on the website which we had, and we did. I think what happened was we decided we was also in conflict whether we should open up to the sisters, because a lot of sisters were reaching out with support as well. So we
Yeah.
just we did a bit of a trial, and we opened it up for the sisters and brothers. And I think, I had one or two brothers what contacted us or reached out to me specifically, and sometimes what you find is it takes time for brothers to open up or even get back to you
Mm-hmm.
because of the pain, how they're processing it. So, you have to approach it in a way where there's a balance,
Right.
where you're not being too forceful, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, you're kind of not leaving them or you know,
Right.
leaving them to hang on string,
Yeah.
like loose ends. So that was another situation. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I think the third thing would be the genuineness of the information shared. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times when someone reviews your site or your stuff,
Yeah.
sometimes certain people will try to see how it, some people may not be transparent with
Right.
what, basically be transparent with the whole situation with what they're dealing with, because we also had a situation where, we had, as I said, we did open up to one or two sisters, and we was also we I think me and a couple of people overseas, we came together. We also did a fundraiser for one or two people, helping them out with resources and so forth. And unaware that there was another side of the story
Mm-hmm.
where, because they knew that, they was able to get some funds, and we self funded it.
Right.
We it was money out of our own pocket. So, because they knew we was able to give certain funds, they, you didn't hear from them again. They just ran off. They even,
For sure.
wanted to make themselves present, even to leave a testimonial. So, so we had a few different stumbling blocks, and I feel because of these stumbling blocks, I had to take a bit of a backseat,
Right.
and I had to start this again from scratch, from literally last year. But even though I started from scratch from last year, I didn't really do much until later on 2020,
Mm-hmm.
where I connected with this brother what just come on the call. Well, I connected with him actually last year summer, but I had to speak. I had a meeting with a consultant, and I ended up you know I had, like, it was one of those type of me, when you have a meeting with a consultant, they could give you some harsh realities and so forth. But it just came to me. I just wanted to use the concept, My Brother's Keeper International, because that was the number one. We titled our forums My Brother's Keeper. This is when I was using the Man in the Mirror project name. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to restart the Man in the Mirror project as an independent practice, which I do, and also just use My Brother's Keeper as the umbrella, because that those names together is names which brothers can relate to, for so many reasons, because the names been like used again and again and again. But the reason why I put the international in the end, because of my connection with people from different parts of the diaspora and doing work in different parts of the diaspora. So because because you know
Right.
f- I've got followers from different parts of the diaspora. I
Right.
thought
Right.
let me
That totally
put
makes
that name in the
sense.
forefront.
Absolutely. You want to introduce your friend here that just joined us?
Um, yeah, I think Hugh will introduce himself. Hugh, you there?
Yeah, but I seem to have a very bad signal. It's breaking up a little bit. I'm not sure if it's my internet, but I can hear you both, but sometimes
Okay,
it's chopping in and out.
that's
Oh
fine.
man, that's messed up. Well, welcome to the broadcast. Looking forward to hearing your contributions as well. Are you also based in the UK?
Yeah, I'm based in London as well, Queen. I'm based in South London.
Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome. And so I'm gonna throw out this other question.
Thanks for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking, yeah, feel free to jump in anytime you want and offer your contributions as well. So Siraj, I have this other question for you because this comes up a lot in the US. Um, is there gender warring in between black men and black women in the UK as much as it is in the US, like or on Twitter? There are a lot of
Yeah,
gender
absolutely.
wars.
Well, Twitter, whatever social media platform
Exactly, yeah.
it's on, but yeah, it happens here. There's
Hmm.
also certain platforms which have been created by the younger generation, where they have this back and forth
Hmm.
um, situation with young black men and young black women, basically speaking out loud with things they don't appreciate from the other. But of what I think one of the main problem factors to that is
Hmm.
there's no solutions, and the whole dialogue it could get raw. The whole dialogue
Right.
could get raw, and it could be like disrespectful.
Yeah.
And once again, this is a different generation. And as I said, for many years now, I feel we've lost that connection.
Hmm.
And I feel, especially, I think that connection is gone. It's probably the last generation was probably those who were born in either 1960s or 50s.
Yeah.
Realistically, and this is all a new generation. So even though we got a younger generation younger than us, we're still part of that younger generation, even though we might be the maturer ones in that generation. But you can still see, how we've been influenced internationally
Hmm.
with a lot of the new school music, entertainment. Because
Hmm.
today, you're not getting, your Cosby shows.
Hmm.
You ain't getting your different world. You ain't getting the good times. You ain't getting the shows. You're
Right.
getting Real Housewives of Atlanta, or
Right.
all of these, you know, shows, lifestyles,
Hmm.
new rap culture,
Yep.
which is extremely influential on our brothers and
Hmm.
sisters. And this is why I feel it's imperative for us to decolonize.
That's right.
Everybody has their guilty pleasures, but what are
Right.
we doing to decolonize? Because once we decolonize it, we could create a solid foundation where we can practice things like
Hmm.
group economics, or become people who um, produce goods and stuff. I'm not saying these things can't be done, but
Hmm.
a lot of these ideals will just they will just crumble because we've
Hmm.
not worked on even the way we communicate with each other.
Right.
The way we communicate with each other, a lot of the times we don't even check our own communication because it's
Hmm.
become so, the dysfunctionalities have become so normalized.
Right.
So we always use excuses for how
Hmm.
we talk to each other. We don't. And when it comes to other stuff like integrity, discipline, you know there's a lack of it. Obviously there's individuals
Right.
which practice it quite well, but how are we communicating? A lot of communication style is through instant messenger, social media. I'm not saying they don't have its uses, but a lot of the times we ain't picking up the phone no more, or
That's
getting
right.
together to. I know it's a bit challenging during this time of this pandemic, but um yeah,
That's
during this
exactly
time,
what it is.
yeah, I know it's a bit challenging during this time and so forth. But even before that, how
Right.
often why are we meeting up? Because the common excuse is I'm busy. Okay, so wasn't we not busy in the 90s? Weren't we not busy in the 80s? What's
Right.
different?
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I would talk, I think Hugh's come back in. I probably will.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna ask any
Yeah.
questions
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do with what the platform does and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I think Mr. Hugh's back in the room now, so
Mm-hmm.
I even jumped in on a different device. I was determined to get into the conversation, especially when I heard about is there a gender
Awesome.
war? I thought, wow, that's
yeah, I knew he
like
was gonna touch on that.
Yeah, I want to hear what you got to say
pretty
about that.
controversial. Yeah, no, I'd chuck a two pence in because one of my day occupations is when my private practice is relationship counseling. So I do see people from a variety of backgrounds, and but I'm following the conversations on um, in the public domain regarding black men and black women, especially young black men and black women. And unfortunately, it's a gender war. The good side of it, the positive side of it, is a conversation, and people are speaking and sharing their minds. And I think oftentimes we had the idea that black men don't talk, and but that's definitely, we're in a different era now where men are more than willing to share their views and their perspectives. And so that's good that men and women are really finding out what each gender is thinking about. But the unfortunate side is sometimes the tone of the conversation is more like trying to score points, trying to win, as a like trying to. It's not a win-win situation, but more like one gender is trying to subdue the other, or prove the other one is not worthy. So that's the there's elements of that takes, but it's kind of unfortunate because some of that sets us back. So it's good the conversation goes on, and it's good the communication goes on, and we need to be real, we need to be honest. But um, I just think that a little bit more how can I put it, a little bit more thought in how we present our arguments or our points of view might be a bit more helpful, so that people are in a place to
Yeah,
receive the message.
absolutely. And not, repeating the deficit kind of language when we talk to each other about each other, repeating, white supremacist talking points. Like I see a lot of that, which is really, really unfortunate. There was recently, a big, Twitter back and forth about this new show called Harlem on Amazon Prime. And there was a scene in there that really pathologized the black barbershop experience here in the US. I've
Mhm.
experienced, going into black barbershops since my son was 3 years old, taking him to get his haircuts. It's actually one of the places, one of the safest places I've ever been into, that I felt safe. I did not feel, um, what the show actually portrayed. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of discussion about that, with different people, that I know personally, who have a bigger platform on Twitter. Hosted what's called Spaces. It's kind of like Clubhouse. It's so many new ways to communicate. I'm just like, it's just a lot. Um,
It's great
so
that we're talking, right? We're using those
yeah,
spaces. We're using those.
no, that's right. So that, that conversation was good. The vast majority of the people that participated were, very offended, about by that scene and by that sort of projection and portrayal of the black barbershop experience, because those kind of shows don't just, stay in the United States. I mean, y'all can watch them. You in the UK, what I mean? Anybody who has internet and has Amazon Prime in the world, they can watch that. And they will walk away like, oh my God, straight black men are savages. You know what I mean? That's the portrayal, with a lot of the popular culture, unfortunately, and a lot of the shows. So we talked about that and got into like decolonizing, got into the fact that African centered, Afrocentricity and African centered epistemology at Black Studies departments in the US have been gutted. The power that was there, you know, with that resurgence in the 90s is just not there at this time. It's almost like revolutionaries who used to be in the academy have been forced underground in the U.S. at least. I'm not sure, what your experience is like in London in the U.K., but here, you know,
There's a
the
I would say there's a stagnation what I've observed in the UK in terms of
yeah,
African centered thought. There's a level
right,
of stagnation, and so what's happening
hmm
in the UK, what I've noticed is that there's less of a passing of the guard. Um,
hmm
Elders are dying out, but that
right,
knowledge, revolutionary position hasn't
hmm
quite been passed over. So there's a lot that's got lost in translation and that kind of generational transmission. And so
right,
I would say that for people that may be in their 30s or late 20s, early 30s, a lot of them are kind of like starting from a particular point. It doesn't seem like my observations doesn't seem like they're on standing on the feet of their elders. I'm standing on the shoulders of their elders, but it's more like they're starting from
right.
going back to the start of the race
Yeah,
and running with the baton and picking up the baton from the starting point again, which is kind of unfortunate. And then to make it matters more complicated, in a different era, a whole load of other identities based around people's bedroom activities or how they identify themselves in terms of their
That's so
sexual
true.
proclivities kind of like now dominate and
That
complicated as well.
dominates
So
everything.
it's
Yeah,
mm,
I
yeah,
like
yeah,
how
it
you put
dominates
that.
everything from the bowl of cereal to the like the pair of trainers. It's just kind of saturated the black space. So there's that also as well that makes matters more complicated.
yeah. And also just segueing into what you were saying, also there's a lack of rites of passage, there's a lack of rites of passage. So there isn't really no um role model from an African centered standpoint, which can lead. And I'm not saying no, there isn't any, but I'm just saying on where it's more or less impactful. How are you gonna more or less, reach out to the younger generation? Especially when a lot of the younger generation gravitate to the images of what are their projections of what they see on the TV screen. So it's a challenge in itself, but we're all here today, and there's obviously others who are like-minded out there who are putting in the necessary works and coming up with solutions. It's not an overnight thing, you know regardless of who complains that there isn't enough being done. However, if anyone feels that there's not enough being done, then my own advice or suggestion would be for them to start a grassroots, to be independent, or join the brothers and sisters out there, because it's about coming together with collective efforts, coming together with just different ideas to come together in collaboration. And that's why I when I took the time out and I decided to rebrand this and launch, I obviously connected with brother Hugh and sister Jasiri from California, because they were obviously consistently supporting since I met them. So I more or less went on, regardless of their credentials. We all got credentials, but it was more to do with the support and the passion. So I thought, all right, let me start this where I'm accompanied by brother Hugh and sister Jasiri Happy, to manage this company, this new platform, My Brothers Keep It International. And one of the things where this platform will have its advantages to help and support brothers internationally is, having not just a safe space, but to also help develop to just work on different areas of their self-development when it comes to their well-being. So we're trying to also be influential with speaking life into these brothers, as well as creating like action plans and giving them certain consultations and letting them connect with not just each other, but also connect with ourselves in our forums. And yes, it's you have to. It's a thing where when it comes to investing in your well-being, yes, you would have to invest money into it, because we invest money into everything. I know there's that song, "The best things in life are free." Not always the case with that situation, because we can spend our money on Jordans, or spend our money on McDonald's or whatever, but we tend to not invest in our well-being. So if we have all of these wonderful plans and ideas, how are we supposed to see them flourish if we are deteriorating at a faster rate?
That's right.
you know
Yeah.
because it's all of these. It says, I think in the UK, correct me if I'm wrong, brother, here, I think it's 1 in 4 black men have prostate cancer.
It's the
you know
same here in the United
yeah,
States. This is
exactly. So,
crazy.
you know
Oh my
and
God.
as
This
we as a
pan Europeanism is crazy.
yeah, so that's just an example, and we're
Yeah.
like 3.3%.
Of the
um
whole population.
yeah, and
Yeah. That's
geographically.
Well, that's actually really low. There are places here in the United States, especially in the Southeast, and Brother Siraj, you probably know this when you went to Georgia, where Black people definitely have much more of a higher population. Mississippi, where I live in Maryland, we're about 45, 50-ish percent of the population here between Prince George's County, Montgomery County, and Baltimore. Black people have decent population size in the, obviously in the former slaveholding states. So a lot of what you're talking about is very similar, to what happens here. But this actually is a good segue to this next question I wanted to ask you, Brother Siraj, and Hugh. Please, you can, chime in as well. With regards to the MBK, International, have you faced challenges getting Black men to open up about their trauma, specifically from early childhood?
Well, me and brother Hugh, we do independent work. So MBK International is actually officially launching next
In
month.
January,
So
right?
we
That's amazing.
from maybe our independent experiences, like as I mentioned before, obviously, I'm gonna probably let you just, after I finish, brother Hugh, I'll probably let you share your experiences. But
Right.
um,
Sure, sure.
with myself doing just independent work here and there
Hmm.
with brothers in different settings. Yes, it is. They do find it challenging,
Hmm.
because we are, in society, we are shown not to, express our emotions and so forth.
Right.
And once we do so, then it kind of takes away from that masculine energy which is on
Hmm.
display, where we feel, if we don't have a balance with that because we have this the masculine energy, the feminine energy, and so forth, and it's like brothers can't even have that. But I'm not even gonna even dive into what one but what I'm gonna say is, there's nothing wrong with being in tune with your emotions and practicing self-care, because it's not just a thing which our sisters do. Sisters obviously practice self-care in so many
Hmm.
different ways, whether it's, they get their foot massages, they go to their spas, all of that treatment. And it's not a thing for us to also get that treatment, because if, as
Hmm.
as I was saying before, if we want to accomplish all these great things, why can't we work on incorporating that into our lifestyle, so we're around a lot longer in order to see these things manifest?
Right.
Because black men, when it comes to black, we're dying by the dozens. You know, not just through you know, the crime or the beef between our brothers on the streets, but also through some of our poor health choices. You know, it's more than just going around kicking a ball and, you know, working in working out in
Well,
the gym,
even
doing
let me
weight.
just push back a little bit on the health choices piece, because
That's fine.
I hear you and everything, and this is the same here. However, even with the health choices, well, I'm going to speak on the United States. A lot of black people here in the United States live in food deserts where there's literally not good food where they live. And so there's all this processed stuff, and that's
Mm,
what they have access to, and that's like what they have money for. So even the poor food choices, even that, um in a lot of respects, is also connected to global white supremacy and how they hoard resources, hoard everything for themselves, and they create the ghettos that black people, live in worldwide. So I definitely think that
It's,
your
it's
work,
slightly
the
different
work.
for us in the UK, though, you know, Queen. It's slightly different for us in the UK. You know, like
Okay, yeah, let me
in the
hear it.
United in the United States, you have areas that are so densely populated by black people, like you mentioned, 50% in certain
That's
parts of
right.
the South,
Parts of the South
and
is
even in
densely populated. Yes,
states, even in states where black people are probably a considerable minority, they might be, let's say, kind of like not warehoused, but you know, concentrated in certain areas. You like a black neighbor is a black neighborhood. We don't really have that in the UK as much. It's because we're
hmm,
such a small population. Even the areas where there's a lot of us living, we still live around a lot of the dominant society.
that's
So
right.
we have access to
That's right.
food. We don't live in food deserts as such. That wouldn't be a comparison. But what we do is we live in a mental desert in our minds. So you know the ancestors
Mm,
used to
I
teach us
like
that all
that.
things are mental. It starts with the mental process. It all
That's
starts
right.
with the mental process, and
yeah.
that's what's killing us
I,
here in the UK. Is our
Mhm.
mindset, the frequency that we vibrate on, the choices that because we've been given a certain limited but a level of freedom of choice. I mean, I work
Mhm.
with young men, black and white, but mostly the vast
Mhm.
majority of my young men that I mentor are black. And,
Mhm.
you know, we might talk about racism, white supremacy. We might talk about a variety of things which are a reality. But within living in that reality, we still have to question ourselves about the choices that we make when we have those choices, when we can choose to either go across the road to even a shop like Iceland and buy some cheap vegetables, or we're going to queue up and late in the evening to go and buy something out of McDonald's, which we call it Murder
yeah.
King, or you know, say
But
these kind of places where we'll queue up and spend our hard-earned money. So that's a
Yeah,
choice that we're executing. So we always have to be accountable and check our own selves for
one
our
thing I
own
would
betterment.
say, one thing I would say, just to interject, brother Hugh, is a lot of the times those cheap vegetables what go quick are not good, and we do have a lot of stores, shops. Well, they're obviously known as stores in the US, like Iceland. There's plenty of them type of uh places like the Icelands where you just get
The
frozen food, which
Lidl's,
you
the
put.
right.
Yeah,
Aldi's,
and
with
that.
the
Oh,
cheap, they
y'all
got
have
cheap
all these
vegetables, they
too?
got cheap food.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that is problematic in
Yeah,
itself, where we don't
absolutely.
have, like, we do have the odd areas where they might have Whole Foods,
Hmm.
or we might have the, you know, the odd places which have farmers markets. So you know, a lot of our people, you know, who don't live in these type of areas have to travel very far, or don't even have the opportunity to have that. So even though, yes, in the States they do, you know, we there is, what do we say is a choice? Yes, there's a choice in the comparison into, rather than going into you know, the McDonald's and going into the Icelands and stuff. But
the
Hmm.
just,
mindset is McDonald's. King. The mindset is McDonald's. That's what my
yeah,
question is.
yeah,
Like,
but that doesn't
I would
make
agree with you.
the
Iceland
Iceland's, yeah,
isn't
yeah,
hasn't got the best, but it's got better food than McDonald's. But something about the magnetism that KFC and these type of shops, and that's more to show with I think, and that reflects in our choices in terms of that's just food, basic level, right? Basic substance of life.
Hmm.
But in terms of what do we feed ourselves with, on a mental level,
Hmm.
like how many people would tune into this podcast compared to if it was a podcast or a discussion about hip hop and who's whoring with who and which celebrity sleep. We love which celebrity sleeping with which celebrity
Right.
might be coming out gay, which celebrity might be trans. You know, like there's a certain mental diet that we feed ourselves with, and there's a spiritual consequence for
Mm.
that. And as much as racism,
Yes.
white supremacy is ferocious, right?
Ferocious.
It doesn't
Period.
compare to when we are on our when we are on our game. They are no match for us in
Mhm.
our righteousness or in our right mind. So we have to return to our right mind because there's no nuclear bomb, there's no station, there's no genetic warfare, there's no this chemical war. None of this can defeat us if we're on our
Absolutely.
game, and it's always going to be about us being on our game. It's not
Yeah,
about
I
the
like that
opponent. It's
warrior
about our
mentality.
strategy and how we operate in the game. Do you know what I mean?
That's right. No,
Yeah.
I love that.
Definitely the choices are ours. Victory's in our hand. Victory's in our hand. It's right around the corner. It's in touching distance. I can see it. I can smell it.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
can taste it. When I work with these young people, and they come from poor neighborhoods, but the remarkable intellect these guys display, but they just often choose to do silly things. They just choose for for a whole load of complicated reasons. But
Yeah, there's so many layers to
there
it.
is
Sure.
no doubt about how bright they are and their
Yes.
capacity, grasp intellectual ideas, and to articulate. When I
Mm.
speak to them on a one, you speak to them as a group, you get a certain frequency. You think, these guys, what's wrong with them? Is there some sort of low reading
Mhm.
IQ, or they got low IQs, whatever? You speak to them one to one, and you find genius, left, right, center, all around you, surrounded by it, a wealth of brilliance. But we just got to
Right.
harness that. We just got to find a way to switch that light on. And when we do, we produce these remarkable people, that the Malcolm X's that transform societies, or have a global, impact so far that they
Do
touch
you all
people
see
outside
the
of the black culture. They touch people in the Middle East and touch people in Asia and different parts of the world. We got that. We've got that.
Mm.
yeah. There's a question here in the chat. I don't know if you guys one of y'all want to address that.
Okay,
There's
I
a
see that. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
not too sure if Black Voltron caught what we said. So yeah, Iceland, as I said, is a yeah, it's like a store, it's a grocery store. So where they mainly have frozen food products which you could just put in the oven, or yeah, put in the oven or fry, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, so
That's a good question, Black Voltron. Appreciate you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So as we wrap up, we have about 3 more minutes. This has been good. It don't even feel like we've been on an hour,
no, it doesn't.
almost an hour with each other. I would love to bring you guys back at some point.
Yeah, well,
Um,
if you want the extra 5 minutes or whatever, it's cool.
yeah, definitely
Yeah.
would love to bring you guys back. I did want to ask you this one last question. So how can people support the work? You're getting ready to launch. How can we, the listeners, those of us who will continue to listen to this, how do we support you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So how to support our work? So you can log onto our website. I know people don't really use www no more. So whether you want to put in www.mbkinternational.org or just
.org. Yeah.
mbkinternational.org, you
Okay.
can obviously find our platform. You can read what it's about. We do accept donations which help us with the necessary resources which we use in order to work on the necessary framework needed in order for us to continue our work and develop what we do. And we spent a lot we spent a lot of time putting this together, with brilliance such as Hugh, Sister Jasiri, Happy, my two colleagues. We put a lot of work into it, so we're basically coming together. We're basically coming together as that Voltron, with our expertise, and we also have a Black Men's Wellness Directory, which is part of our membership, for brothers. And one thing I want to basically express is the importance, once again, in investing into your well-being, whether that's your mental, your physical, your spiritual well-being. So me, Sister Jasiri, we've reached out to brothers we have a personal rapport with in the community, in the diaspora, who are facilitators. So we got this facilitators, not just in the UK. Well, most of my followings from the US anyway. So we've got a lot of US. We've got a few US brothers who are facilitators, who provide certain services to help when it comes to boy, what can this whole there's vast, whether it's nutrition, whether it's financial literacy, whether it's psychotherapy. I will be also starting, I'm going to be also starting up the Man in the Mirror project as my independent workshops from the month of February, where I will be doing not just group work, but I'll be doing one work when it comes to unpacking the trauma. So when we say unpacking in regards to how our people still walk around with baggage, so I'm going to be using the concept of how to unpack in a way which helps you it helps you de-stress, it helps you to decolonize. So I'm going to obviously be focusing on areas which are weighing down our brothers, where they have certain blockages which prevent them from moving forward. Okay, I don't know if is your...
Yeah, no, I was just saying we appreciate you. It's definitely important work. I want you to continue to do it. I'm going to support it, encourage people to hit the website up. And yeah, I would love to bring you back once you do the official launch. But yeah, thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom, and keep doing the work. It's important.
Yes, and I just wanted to also say that if there are any brothers here who are tuning in, who are interested, we have our official launch on January the 16th, 2022,
Hmm.
where we will be launching MBK International. That's My Brothers Keeper International, and we will be speaking about our Black Men Resource Forum and how it can benefit brothers across the diaspora.
Love it. It's amazing. Thank you all so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this broadcast. Make sure if you hadn't hit the like button, go ahead and do that, and share this broadcast. I hope it helps someone, and hopefully you'll get a lot of traffic to your website, brother Suraj.
Yes, I appreciate that. I
Absolutely,
appreciate I
absolutely.
appreciate you having me on, sister, and I do appreciate the work you're doing in the community overseas.
I say. So I'm looking forward to meeting you when you come back to the States. You got to.
Yes, let's hope I don't get detained.
I know. Yeah, we don't want you to get
Yeah,
detained
let's hope I
again.
don't get through a
Yeah,
situation.
we don't want customs to tie you up again. Want you to be
Yeah,
able to
yeah,
come and
yeah.
visit.
I'm trying to work on some documentation. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, brother. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you share the broadcast, hit the thumbs up button. Next Wednesday, we're back at our regular time, 8 p.m. Make sure you put that on your calendar. Real Talk with ZSJ. Next week is going to be really good. I'm not going to even tell y'all what's coming, so you just got to show up. It's a surprise. All right. Peace, everybody.